All right, guys. So I'm super excited to be joined by Miss Priscilla. Priscilla, you are live today to talk about emotional connection. And the reason why it's so important, I appreciate her for taking the time out. She's a very busy lady with her own show and her own work. That she's joining me this Sunday. So thank you. I mean, I forget which one of these things are here. Yeah, there we go. I think you deserve an applause. Thank you. So, Priscilla, introduce yourself. Tell people what you do and how you've become to get to where you are.
Oh my goodness, that's. I'm gonna end that today. I mean, if I start, how do we finish? Oh dear. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Priscilla Benjamin-Olaoye, and I'm vacationing from Nigeria. I'm glad to be here. I'm a mental health expert, and I run my own private practice. Also, I run a network called the Peak Network, where basically what we do is to teach. It's a preventive mental health network where we teach lifestyle modification to people in order to promote mental wellness. So we do not wait for people to break down. We just teach people what they can include in their everyday lives to be able to embrace positive mental health habits. And we have been running this network for a while. We have covered a large part of the country. We're moving into other parts of the African continent. And I'm hoping to have more mental health ambassadors recruited from all over the world. I also work as a consultant I've worked as a consultant to so many multinational projects. I provide psychological support services for organizations and run the Peak Network aside my own practice. Basically, that's what I do.
That's amazing. Amazing. I was told that I'm getting some static, that people are hearing a bit of static. So hopefully that's better. One of the problems is with my particular microphone is when I move around and get a little bit too excited, which I do a lot. It gets a little bit more staticky. So hopefully that's better. Guys, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's super exciting. One of the things, and not many people know, is I wanted to start an NGO, but ended up starting a community organization called Safe Hands in Kenya with a Kenyan, and it's centered around mental health and mental wellness in Eastern Africa. And hopefully will grow and we could possibly talk about partnering. I think that's super amazing. I know Nigeria is considered West Africa.
That'll be exciting.
But so now, how did you get started in this, Priscilla?
Okay, I remember while I was still in school, and I decided to decide on. I had to choose a specialty, and I remember telling my dad that I would prefer to specialize in psychiatry and mental health. And oh my goodness, if anyone is familiar with Africans, you would know how we spiritualize some of these things. So many myths. There's so many myths around what it means to be a mental health expert. One that readily comes to mind is the fact that people who are mental health experts end up with mental health illness. I mean, that's just a very popular myth in Africa where I come from. And my dad was pretty worried. But this was one thing that kept me going. I realized that, when it comes to general medicine or when it comes to physical health, you could, for example, have a fever and you could still sign checks, if you get what I mean. You could
Right.
still, call the office, you're still coordinated. But when your mind shuts down, everything is on hold. And I said to myself, this is the lifeline of living, and this is where I want to be. And that was what got me started in the field of mental health. And when I got started and I was in clinical practice, I also knew that something was missing. I calculated, so that globally, the time frame for sessions is between 45 minutes to 60 minutes. You can see a client longer than that. And I calculated how many clients can I see in a day? Let's assume that I'm seeing new fresh cases every day. So I calculated and I saw that I couldn't, for the life of me, see more than 1,200 people in the whole year. That's why I said to myself, how many people do we even have, for example, in my community? How many people do I have, on the street that I'm living? And I knew that would not cover anything. And that was what pushed me into establishing the Peak Network, where we then decided to teach people lifestyle modifications. Why don't we just teach people, why don't we equip them with the right tools and prevent them from breaking down, than allowing them to break down before we begin to provide interventions. So that was my major motivation. That was what pushed me into what I do now, and I do it full time.
Mm. One of the things that we talked about in the podcast, and hopefully people got to tune in the podcast and hear a little bit of this conversation, was our current day struggle with emotional connections and COVID, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, and people kind of like relegating that to social isolation. And you said something really, I thought was really exciting, was about kind of rethinking, reframing, and promoting this sense of social, like, or emotional bliss. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Okay, I'm an advocate for emotional bliss because we say that emotions are not static. It's just a flow of thoughts, and we know that these things are purely cognitive. In nature. So we say that, when your organs of perception pick things from the environment, what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you feel. So all of these organs of perception pick data from the physical environment, and then it translates into thoughts, and those thoughts then translate into feelings. Now, the truth of the matter is, all of what we hear right now is about the pandemic. We talk, we're experiencing the lockdown, the most First app right now is WhatsApp, where people just continue to forward false information. So, there's a lot of information going on. There's a lot of misinformation going on as well, and people seem to be glued to the information coming in. So guess what? This naturally raises our stress levels. And when our stress levels are high, we're able to emotionally connect with our loved ones because we will be tested by survival. If you remember the book of Maslow needs, that survival comes first. So going back to that level, you see that's not survival, which is the need for thing. And just the air and then we see the next level is safety, and then after that is the need for love and sense of belonging. So you see, we're back to the base of the pyramid, which is survival. So the love and sense of belonging is the least of our minds right now because no one wants to die.
Right.
Everyone wants to be infected by the COVID virus. So but we're not going to put in so much energy into connecting with our loved ones. All we want to do right now is survive. And whilst doing that, we find ourselves neglecting the things we usually would do to ensure that our relationships are working. So emotional bliss is that place where you're at peace with yourself, you're at peace with your loved one, and there is just general bliss, around your social environment or even within yourself. And the fact that you're not even connecting with your spouse at this time could also increase your stress level, because you then begin to feel that sense of isolation. Despite the fact that you're not supposed to be isolating emotionally, you're only supposed to be experiencing social distancing, not creating emotional distance.
Wow. Yes. I I agree. I agree. So, I mean, one of the questions, comes from viewer myself, aka some people know, and I think we follow one another on social media. I recently experienced the loss of two very relatively close family members in the midst of this social isolation, social distancing, emotional distancing, physical distancing. And I talked about it on the last show, was that because it was still pretty fresh, how do we as people grieve when we utilize things like funerals, memorials, um, as a way of one, connecting with our family. So having 100-person funeral, and being African, uh, and me attending several African experiences in person on the continent, that's a big thing. It's a whole pomp and circumstance, and now to rethink, how do I celebrate the life and now death, passing of my loved one, um, and at the same time protect my family, myself, in the present day. What are your thoughts about that? Because I mean, I definitely will say that I was emotionally conflicted about it, even as a healthcare provider, knowing that it's the best thing to do, but still emotionally conflicted. Like, if I don't go, does that make me a bad son? Does it make me a bad grandson? Because it was my grandmother's brother.
Interesting. Oh dear. Okay. First, permit me to establish that what you're experiencing is, so when we talk about the psychology of emotional connections, we say that there are four basic principles, that are parameters, that guide this thing. And what you just described is inhibition. Inhibition is just, you want to feel something, and then there's something inhibiting you from feeling that thing. So what you're experiencing is inhibition. So you're conflicted. There's that conflict internally. You want to do the right thing, at the same time you want to feel safe, basically. So let me also establish fundamentally that grieving is a cultural. We oftentimes do not think about that, but I can tell you this as an African. Grieving is highly cultural. So you see, for example, the way an African American will grieve, because there's a tradition to it, is not the same with the cultural inclination of someone probably from West Africa or someone from the east of Africa. So I could also tell you that within Nigeria, where I come from, for example, people grieve differently. So we have people from the southern part of Nigeria, for example, who, when someone dies, you can't even go there to eat. You have to go there and cry, pay your condolences, and move on, right? But the people also from the eastern part of Nigeria, where this is what happens. So you go, the casket is open, you look at the body, and then you go back to your seat and order rice or whatever it is you want to eat, or even if you want to have alcohol, and celebrate all the way. Despite the fact that the person has not even been lowered to the ground. So you see, grieving is pretty cultural in a lot of ways. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
generally say for you, I would generally say that you should take a look at what the culture is in your, and then every family also has a culture. Different environments have a culture. We just do not articulate these things, but they are there. They're almost like unwritten codes. So I want you to take a look at your family and say that how do we grieve in this family? What are the things that are important to us as a family? If not, parents would cause some form of conflict between yourself and your living loved ones, then you probably would not want to do that. Or you want to find a way to bypass that resistance and just explain away how that works. But generally, I would say that it would be great if you could take a look at your family dynamics to see what works for you. But
Mm-hmm.
ensure that you grieve the right way, because so many people experience delayed mourning. They do not grieve at the time they're supposed to grieve.
Right.
And then that becomes another problem altogether later.
Right. Right. So we talked about the grieving, and I want to go to the other aspect of this because maybe some people know, some people don't know. So I'm a nurse, and recently a very large gathering, not very large gathering, a larger gathering than it's supposed to be, had a wedding because culturally, they wanted to be continue through with this in spite of the in spite of
Yeah.
present day. Several
Mm.
of the leaders are now positive coronavirus, COVID positive, sick, mind you, not just COVID positive,
Right.
but sick and ventilated and, really on the brink of unfortunately passing. But I thought about kind of how, again, for this particular culture, not of my own, but of another particular culture, how important that must have felt to want to continue through, and then now, I'm sure they didn't think it would be end at this particular point. Well, how do you? So we talked about grieving, but I also want to talk about celebrating those life milestones. Like, say, for instance, oh, I wanted to be, an April bride, and now I can't be an April bride. Yada yada yada.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm hitting you with this hard stuff. I didn't give it to you on the podcast because I knew I was gonna hit you with the hard stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's pretty tough, and that brings me to habituation. So
Mm,
you create, whether we like it or not, we all are working on a script. We all are programmed to think in a certain way. We all have been programmed to run certain scripts that we have developed. I'm growing up. So for the record, tomorrow is my birthday, for example.
wow. Happy birthday.
So, for example, imagine tomorrow being my birthday and I'm conflicted. I want to celebrate, right?
Hmm.
Because it's my birthday. Now, this is self disclosure now. There is a script in my mind that I have been using before now, and that's the fact that on my birthday, that's not the time I want to party. My birthday typically is a day where I begin to I introspect a lot. So I want a lot of calm. I want to be in nature. I just want to enjoy my own company. Yes, so I could have a few friends come around, but that will be after I've done my routine. So you see, that's a script running in my head. So for people who want to celebrate, my point is you should take a look again at your mental script. What are your emotional habits as to how you uh, express being in a celebratory mood? How have you programmed yourself to celebrate generally? And what are the boundaries? So that's what's important. But while doing this, you also want to be very considerate of people who probably are around you and are not in that mood. So I would not say that you should not be true to yourself or you should not be true to what it is that you're celebrating, but you do it in a very considerate way. That's basically what I'm saying.
Mm, Right, right. And consideration is definitely the number one thing I think is to remember. Being considerate of, again, maybe we haven't been so considerate of the earth, which is why we're kind of in this debacle. I won't say a curse word, but we haven't been so considerate of the earth, considerate of the world. Considering we're struggling with global warming and all of the like, considerate of one another. One of the things I appreciate about my mother is that she made a post about how significant it can be and important it could be to reconnect with family. That we
Hmm.
had gotten a bit away from that. But yeah, so I agree. I
So,
definitely agree.
so periods like this it puts us in a place where we were able to see how frail life is and how fleeting, what it is that we know really is. And we say that before you know the value of something, you probably sometimes have to lose it. So I've seen grief turn around the dynamics of certain families. Grief sometimes tears some families apart, and
Hmm.
some families it brings them closer because they're able to recognize how valuable one another is. They're able to recognize the fact that they are not going to be together forever. You see, so it's the same situation but different perceptions of the situation, which is resulting to different response. So I love the fact that you said your mom is able to look at the positive side of this,
Hmm.
to say
Hmm.
that she wants to celebrate who your grand uncle was, and to celebrate what you have in your family, and to celebrate the fact that you are together but for a time, and therefore it's not when people pass on that we should begin to eulogize them. We
Hmm.
should
Hmm.
eulogize and celebrate people whilst they are alive, and I think that's a great and profound lesson.
Right, right. And but you bring us to a greater, you bring us to an even, you bring me to a still a even greater point, actually. I just think about like culturally, right? So you think about the spirit of Thanksgiving in America, and Thanksgiving is a very large gathering.
Yes.
You think about the spirit of a kind of a lot of different celebratory or even like say for instance housewarmings is about inviting large guests and and to now kind of think about like really rethink that as an emotional connection. I mean, I think some of the great things is we have social media that has created some positives. Oh, and I got a message. Somebody stating that turn your mic down a little bit. I guess there's your mic is a bit loud. I don't have no idea. Because it sounds great to me. um, but yeah, I mean, so there's all these things, and I really still feel like there's just really a hard time of people connecting. I think even that people are even becoming a bit resistant now after almost 2 weeks of being this thing, right?
Right.
What can
Right.
we do as frontliners
This is
to help people cope with what's going on?
Right, this is huge. So let me be very upfront with you. I don't know if our view is good, but I really can see you as
Hmm.
I was seeing you before. I don't know, but let me say this. We appreciate social media, but there is a downside to it that we haven't seen, or haven't recognized, which is the fact that there is a falsehood of being close when it comes to social media.
Hmm.
But then you would find out that we seem close, but we're distant. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
So we seem to have connected with a large number of people, but we're emotionally distant from those connections that we have. You'd find out that the social media connections we have almost feels like rivalry because we do not display our struggles on social media. We do not announce it. We only look great on social media. There's almost you remember during the podcast, I was saying something
Right.
about the need to be vulnerable, vulnerability, strength rather than a weakness. You see, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook,
Right.
it's not giving us the room to be vulnerable. I mean, there are loads of things behind the scenes that social media has not given us the opportunity to project. So there is reality versus make believe. Make believe is what we project on social media. So now this is what I'm saying. Now as a therapist, to form real bond, you have to then choose to pick one person per time that you want to deliberately be connected with. You have to, and you see, building emotional connection is work. It's like laying brick after brick after brick after brick. And then sometimes it's not that you're not meant to be. And I'm not talking romantic relationships alone now. I'm talking platonic relationships. I'm talking family. I'm talking friendships. So even if you get one another, even if you connect, you also have to give room for the cement to dry.
One jewel you just said in that, and you said a lot in that, is you have to choose one person to be deliberate with at a time. And that's work. That's some real serious work. I was reading a influencer's information, and she was talking about the fact that now what do influencers do? They don't have parties to be in. They don't have the glamorous brunches to be on social media with. Now what do they do to engage their followers? And you just said a huge answer kind of to that. And picking that one person to be deliberate with. And again, showing, I guess, your viewers, your audience, your people who follow you, your 1.5 million people, that your life is just as fulfilling with that one person.
Absolutely. So you see, you're connected. They're just fans, and because what you're selling is sensationalism. That's what you're selling is sensationalism. What basically they do is to create some sort of they create the engaging activities that release dopamine for so many people, or the endorphins. So it's addictive because people again and again want to feel good. So they'll go to these pages so that they're able to feel good, about the fact that something beautiful is happening or something exciting is happening, but they're not connecting with you. You have a million, you have 1.5 people following you, but when you are in your downtime, you can't call one person to say that, do you know, I'm having suicidal thoughts.
Girl.
So you're experiencing a loneliness. That is being lonely despite being amongst people. So you see, it's almost as if you are in a vineyard and you do not have access to the berries or to the apples, or you're in an orchard. You get what I mean? So you do not have access because you cannot connect with them. You cannot partake of the connection that they can provide for you. And a lot of them follow you because they want to be part of something big. So when you get it, I oftentimes say that success has many siblings, but failure is an orphan. So you see someone, for example, who is only connected to 200 people on Instagram, 200 people or maybe 50 people on TikTok. You don't have many people going to their pages. because they don't feel like they're part of something big. But if you go to someone's page who probably has 4.5 million followership, you also want to say, oh, I follow XYZ, because people always love to be a part of something big. But you see, that person who is having that level of followership does not feel connected in any way to the people who they follow. So you must tell yourself that you're not immortal. You're a human being, and every human being is created for interconnectivity. You should be able to connect to someone. You should be able to call someone during your downtime to say that this is how I feel. Someone who can tell you for real and legit that you're probably engaged in certain activities that are not healthy for you. But because we have so many people who, you know, are not able to tell us the truth because they also just want to be our friends, because we're popular, because we're so they also want to be part of the people who will, you know, give first-hand news when it comes to you, because they know that the moment they tell you the truth, you probably will yank them off your inner circle, and then they're not part of the hot gist, you know, whenever anything new happens to you, because they want to be able to be referred to as a reliable source. You get what I mean? When it comes to you. So we should, and even for people who do not have so much followership, I will say this: you should be able to differentiate real. You should be able to differentiate friends from fans. Friends stay with you. Fans will move on to the next big thing if anything happens to you.
Right. You know, Priscilla, you dropped so many jewels in that. I hope you know that, by the way. I mean, I was like, damn, where's my pen and my paper? Because I'm gonna use that in my workshop. Let me turn up the sound. And I mean, I'm just gonna go to like some of the comments. Blake Smith says, "Amen." It provides a false sense of self. Yep, you only see the good and a false sense of self. Um, Blake talked about that his birthday was on Friday, and it was disappointing to be home, but he told people to celebrate, stay home, because as a nurse, to me, it felt like it was celebrating my birthday by protecting others. That's dope, Blake. Thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, that is. I mean, that's really dope to really be. Luckily, my birthday was January 12th. Uh, before people knew about coronavirus.
I was not even in the country at the time.
Right, and I was in South Africa, so now I can't go to South Africa. But you dropped so many jewels in that for people about being in the vineyard and not being able to taste the apples. Like you feel like you're a part of something big by being in 4.5 million, but then you don't get to be a part of the gist when you're a part of somebody who only has 50 followers. That's really really significant. And now as people are sitting home making their TikTok videos, I haven't had the opportunity, for those of who may be looking for my TikTok video. Uh, I think it even. Do you think that it's driving people more into this frame, or we're also saying, you know what, let me check in with my friend or a really good friend of mine from high school who I know only has 15 connections? What do you think is happening right now for folks?
In my opinion, that is happening is the fact that we're becoming more surface and we're losing our deep roots. And what I mean by that is that we're now choosing friends who are fun driven. So and that's what TikTok is promoting. Permit my traditional thinking, but that's the way I see it. I see that. So the only reason why, for example, we would visit someone's TikTok page is because we know that the person is kind of adventurous. The person is able to dare things. This person is able to create fun videos. But what about me, who is unable to get creative in that sense? But guess what? I'm a deeply loyal person. I'm someone who would be with you through thick and thin, but I cannot create fun videos. What about that? So
Mm-hmm.
we are losing genuine people. We are becoming more surface people who do not have the capacity to grow deep roots and form deep connections and be real anymore. That's what these are. That's what I think. So I would say honestly that I would rather be with people who seem not to have so much fun
Mm-hmm.
but are real with me and can hold my hand and be there with me through my bad times than people who are only fun driven. So guess what? When we continue to be with people who are only fun driven, it only shows that when the storm arises, we'll be left alone
Right.
because we have adapted to having that level of fun and it's addictive. That's
It
that's
is.
that's
It is
it
addictive.
is. So when anything happens, for example, I fall ill, for example, I'm in the hospital, nobody would notice because all they want to see is that I'm creating videos. And because I'm not creating videos, they go to the next page. They go to other people who would give them that level of fun because they also need to care for themselves first. And what comes
Mm.
first for them is fun, not connection. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll go to
Mm-hmm.
the next person while you are dealing with whatever it is you're dealing with, and then suddenly you realize you're just all by yourself. So it's just a pattern that is a pattern that is going on, and before we realize it, we'll see that you could be in a world that is filled with so much void.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
seem to have a lot of connections, but we're alone.
Right. Wow.
Right.
I'm going to go to some of the comments. Walker Felicia says hello. Tree Paparazzi, thank you guys for joining in. I got some really cute emojis going on. Walker Felicia, tell me if you still can hear. Uh, what else we got going on out here? We got a lot of great emojis from people who are joining in the show. Um, Blake says that his hope that it forces us back to what social media was designed for in the beginning, back in 2004, when
Mm.
Facebook was created to connect, even though there is a distance, and to get to your roots. I know it is a pipe dream, but that's my hope. Yeah. Nita says, "Hey Doc, hey John, physical, not social distancing." Um, but is it, while we say, yeah, physical distancing is the best word to use versus social distancing, um, is it as easy as that to parse that out? Is the question. Do you think it's that easy to parse it out and say, okay, we're going to call it physical distancing versus social distancing?
It's actually social distancing, not physical distancing. Because when we say social, it means that you cannot go to work, your children cannot go to school.
Mm,
So it's social because it's our social lives that is being intercepted. You can't go to parties, you can't go to the club, you can't go to the mall. These are the things that make up our social lives. So it's not physical distancing; it is actually social distancing. That's
right.
that's 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 what it is. Because it's not just maintaining the 6 feet from people. Is the fact that you cannot go to the places that you would have loved to go. You get what I mean. So it's a
I
social
do.
life that is being inhibited, not just the physical distance when we're actually with people.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Oh, oh my God, Priscilla, I mean, I cannot, I mean, this could go on because I literally have so many questions
Right.
about all of the great knowledge that you have dropped here today. But one of the things that I do is I try to um, keep to keep to the reality of the show is that this is what
Okay.
we do in kind of 45 minutes.
Right.
You are here. I know you like, oh, I'm here, I'm vacationing, but how can people reach out to you and get some of that umph that you've gotten, because it comes from a place of really sounds like you've done some soul searching. How did you get to that place to have such a message?
Okay. So I started this thing called Romance with Nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I go during the weekend, I go to be with nature with some of my friends, my lovely, lovely, lovely soul searching friends. And sometimes I go all by myself because I also enjoy my own company. And, while I'm in nature, I am observing. So you see, some people say that they go to the beach to have fun. So fun for me is being able to just experience mental silence, which is what so many people are not used to. You see, we want to be with everything and everyone without being with ourselves. We run away from ourselves a lot because we're afraid of what we would find when we confront ourselves about who we are or what we are. So a lot of times I ask myself, if I'm stripped off my certificates or my profession or the kind of house I live in or the kind of car I drive, if all of that is stripped off, what is going to be left of me? And it's this journey, this romance with nature that led me to begin to introspect. And I will always joke that introspection is hard work. So we don't like to do the hard stuff. We love the easy stuff. So the romance with nature led me to begin to do this, and that's to say this very lightly. That was what birthed the picnic word. And that was what birthed. So I write daily. I write very short. So Wesley, I know you've seen it on my page. I call it the word for the day. So I usually would write and just express what I think on a daily basis. So I pick a word. So people can find that on my Instagram page. You would see the things I've written before now. I just put out a word and say word for the day, and I just write about it and talk about it. So that's about where you can find my thoughts. You could. I also have produced. I also have products that I've produced, audio products that I've produced and put into CDs and cards and platforms. So people can send me a DM. You can reach out to me. They can send me an email, and I'll respond to their questions, and they could read up the word for the day on my page, both on Instagram and Twitter. I post daily.
So I am going to your Instagram page. I'm going to pull that up for folks to see. It's Psych Inspire,
Yes.
and I am going to pull that up. Hopefully, where it is. Yes, here we go. And let me pull that over so folks can see it live right here. Hopefully, I'm gonna do this correct. All right, here we go. There we are.
Right.
And hopefully, folks can see it. Can you see it, Priscilla?
I can see it. I haven't been seeing anything. I mean, I've just been talking to myself on the camera.
That's one of the things I hate about this thing. But yes, you should. I have up your Instagram.
I mean, I've trained my mind to see good in everything. The most important thing, seeing you is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that people can hear us. People can learn from what we've got to offer. That is what matters to me, really. So it's fine.
You are you are I mean, I'm sure you hear this a lot, that you are just a breath of fresh air. Not just, I think, as a professional, as a practitioner, but it just seems like it's deep and it resonates within who you are. So thank you for bringing that to the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, Wesley.
Well,
Delighted.
thanks again. I hope everybody benefited from this show, and I will let you have your Sunday back. Again, thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys. So, yes, thank you. That was super amazing. I hope that you all took something away from the experience, because I definitely have. Even as a practitioner, one of the things I think that she spoke to for me most is understanding no matter where we are, like in our practice. I've been a nurse for oogly number of years. I've been a mental health practitioner for oogly number of years. It's the ability to be vulnerable and to show our that we're not perfect and we have a less perfect of a perfection. I think when we become in our minds, become that expert, and we're supposed to graduate, right? You get taught in school that you graduate from beginner to novice to expert. They don't quite explain how to shed some of that ego that comes with that experience. But anyways, thank you all for spending the 45 minutes with me. Having an amazing week. I know a lot of us won't be going to work. I will be at work because I am considered an essential employee as a nurse on the front line. But I hope that no matter where you are, no matter what you have to do in your world of work or in your career, that you be blessed and that you have a super uber amazing week.